Ba't bigla ako na-tense? Mahirap pala
Pag kayo nasa kabilang side.
Oo, pag si Toni pala mag-i-interview.
He's been my boss since 2005 at yung pinaka-unang memory ko kay Direk Lauren, nagsisimula ako as host ng Pinoy Big Brother. Hindi niya ako kinakausap noon. Kakausapin lang niya ako pag may bakil ako. Hindi ko makakalimutan yun. Pero dahil sa mga maliliit na gano'n niya sa akin, mas lalo kong pinagbuti yung trabaho. Kaya malaking bahagi po ng pagiging host ko sa PBB ay dahil sa kanya. And also the success of Pinoy Big Brother. So,
Alam mo naman na Big Brother is equivalent to Toni Gonzaga. Toni Gonzaga is Big Brother. Hindi pwedeng mawala ang isa doon.
no, but the foundation of Pinoy Big Brother po sa aming lahat is Direk Lauren Dyogi because of his guidance and wisdom along the way. Kaya po sobrang successful ng Pinoy Big Brother. So, sisimulan na po natin yung life story ni Direk Lauren. Ang una pong pangarap ninyo nung bata kayo ay... Kasi di ba nung bata kayo, may mga dreams kayo na...
Flashback
Yes.
agad ano. Kasi iba ang buhay ng pamilya ko eh. Hindi normal ang kinalakihan ko,
Yes.
di ba? Alam mo naman yun, i-share ko naman
Yes.
sa iyo, di ba? So yun yata yung una kong pangarap, yung maging ipagmalaki ako ng magulang.
Kaya ako nagbuti kayo sa school. Kasi alam niyo po, si Direk Lauren was a consistent scholar from grade school to high school. And he graduated cum laude.
Hanggang college. Kasi
Hanggang college!
Kasi naman UP, you're scholar ng bayan kayo. So automatic kang scholar ng bayan.
Pero he graduated in UP cum laude.
Yung anak ko Magna, mas mataas. Yung asawa ko cum laude rin.
Sobrang tali. Kaya hindi mo pwedeng lokohin si Direk Lauren.
So nung bata ko, yun yung naalala ko. I think every child has that certain that your parents be proud of you. Pero nung college ako, I wanted to take up architecture. Nung sa bahay namin, may madyungan yan. Mahilig bang madyong nanay ko. Yung mga tiles ng madyong, ginagawa kong building yan. So feeling ko noon, gusto kong maging architect. Kaso sa UP, quota course, tsaka math. Hindi ako magaling sa math. So, ginawa ko, tinry ko masscom. Hindi pa quota course sa masscom sa UP. No? Sabi ko, baka pwede akong doon muna, pag naganda yung grades ko, lipat na lang ako. Nag-enjoy na ako sa masscom. Tapos kilala ko pa asawa ko. So,
Meant to be.
meant to be. Pero bagsak ako ng isang malaking eskwelahan.
Yes, Ateneo.
Ateneo.
Yun po yung dream school nyo eh.
First choice ko talaga Ateneo. So kung pumasa ako sa Ateneo, kalimutan na ang tatlong choices ko. Nag-exam ako actually hindi ako nag-exam sa pangatlo. So UP, Ateneo, Lasal din ako tumuloy. UST automatic ako kasi valedictorian na po ng Letran, Dominican School, tanggap ka na automatic sa UST. Pero theology ang course ko dapat doon. Magpapari ako So sabi ko, bumagsak ako ng Ateneo. Pag gusto ko, kung may vocation ako, may calling ako ni Lord, ibagsak niya UP ko. Pumasa ako. Kaya naniniwala ako sometimes you feel it's a failure. Hindi naman. Sometimes dinadala ka lang sa mas tamang direksyon.
Redirection. A failure is a redirection.
Malakas sa exactly.
To where you're supposed to be in life. Tapos when you graduated in masscom, ang unang-unang job na in-applyan niyo po?
Siyempre, cum laude ka, feeling mo you could do a lot of things. I did directing sa isang sitcom na lagi full shot. Hindi ako marunong
Anong sitcom po yun?
It was for a client, a burger chain before. Very, a smaller burger chain. Tapos sila, Tina Paner, sila Chris Villanueva. At kisa ko na, love team pa nila.
Ilang taon po kayo nun?
21, 22. Tapos direct ako na snooker competition. Alam ba snooker? Parang bilyar yun, pero ibang klase, shorter yung Wala rin ako alam doon, pero ginagawa ko pa rin kasi lakas ang loob. Kailangan pangangailangan. And then, napunta ako sa Channel 7. Nag-writer ako kay Martin After Dark. Doon ko nakilala sila Enrico Santos, sila DTE. Tapos napunta kami, nasama ako sa grupo nila, Creative Team, nag-Channel 13 kami, nag-Loveliness ako, nag-special kami ni Alma. Tapos nagsara ang na-sequester ang Broadcast City. From that point on, naghanap ako ng trabaho. Nag-start ako from the bottom, PA ng Dick and Carmi sa recording. Nagbabantay ako ng recording hanggang madaling araw, alas 3. Dahil si Kuya Dick at si Carmi gustong nagre-recording 1:00, alas 2, alas 3 na madaling araw.
Yes. Yung Dick and Carmen sa ABS-CBN po yun.
Yes, dun sa lumang-lumang building. At yun sa telepono nag-aagawan lahat ng producer. Yun ang simula ng ABS-CBN. Pumasok ako, mahirap. So ngayong nangyayari sa atin sa ABS na ngayon, parang bumabalik lang ako dun sa dinaanan naman namin yung naghirap talaga tayo.
So from 1989 to this day, you've
ABS.
been working for ABS-CBN. You've experienced the highs, the lows, the trials.
I've experienced wanting to get out of ABS. Siyempre, yung iniisip mo na greener pasture. I wanted to work in Singapore. Natuloy na dapat ako noon. Nagpunta na ako sa Singapore Broadcasting Corporation. Na-interview na ako sa POEA. Na-interview na ako ng boss ko. Nag-ocular na ako. May office na ako. Hindi ako natuloy dahil nabuntis ang ninang mo dahil difficult pregnancy. So it was a sign not to go to
Meant to be.
So lahat naman nangyari sa buhay talaga natin, we are being redirected.
Pero Lolo, paano niyo po na-discover yung passion niyo or yung gift niyo sa directing?
Ano lang siguro I'm being directed to that path from taking mass comm to working to talagang parang divine intervention talaga yung mga nangyari. So even when I got to ABS naman, producing yung unang line ko I was an executive producer before Mr. M asked me if I'm interested in ang TV. So naging assistant director ako, naging director ako ng mga bata. Tapos yun, nagsunod-sunod na yun.
Nag-AD po kayo sa ang TV. Grabe, nag-audition ako doon.
Hindi ka tinanggap?
Hindi po ako natanggap.
Kasi you're being
Redirected to something else. Sino po yung parang naging mentor nyo, nag-guide sa inyo sa industriya? Yung parang nagturo sa inyo kung paano mag-direct and all that.
Okay.
Saan nyo po natutunan?
Mr. M was a critical mentor. Leo Real was also a mentor. And definitely si Miss LT, si Linggitan, and si Ma'am Charo, syempre. And then si Tita Cory kasi my latter part of my professional life ko siya naging mentor. Pero sila yung mga taong tumulong sa akin. Tita Malu rin pala. Tita Malu, si Inang, sa pelikula at sa sila rin yung masakit magkomento.
Yes. Yeah.
Sakit! Talagang pag nagde-direct ka, hindi ko alam kung Paul will feel the same. Parang ka lang hubad nun Pag nagkikritik, parang wala akong tamang ginawa. Sensitive pa naman ako as a person. Dati. Pero I don't know if I'm I'm very sensitive dati. Ayoko nakikriticize dati. Hindi sa ayaw, masakit para sa akin pag nakikriticize.
Pero you have a way po, Direk Lauren, na you can criticize us and correct us in a way na na-hurt kami, pero hindi kayo masakit magsalita. Yung tingin nyo pa lang, alam na namin yun na we're being corrected or we did something wrong. I've never had a memory na nagsalita kayo ng masakit.
Kasi Toni, ako I think, bata pa lang ako, buo sa utak ko yung hindi pwede yung pwede na. Yung mediocre, parang so lahat ng katrabaho ko, alam kong pagkatrabaho ka, alam kong you'll do, parang may pinagdadaanan, parang nasa utak ko, anong problema niya today? Bakit hindi naman siya ganyan? Di ba? So alam kong may nangyari or may pinagdadaanan or something's bothering the person, kaya hindi maayos yung trabaho kasi dapat buo yung environment to expect a person to excel.
Hindi pa lolo si Direk Lauren kasi ang tawag po namin sa kanya sa PBB is really lolo. Not because he's a lolo, but because he's like the senior and the head. Yung parang overall wisdom sa kanya namin kinukuha. And ngayon, literally, he's now a lolo dahil may mga anak na kami ni Mariel and Bianca. And for the longest time, kahit ilang beses nang sabihin ni Direk Lauren na hindi siya si Kuya, akala pa rin mga tao, kayo si Kuya.
I've denied it. People will believe, people will not believe. I think the essence, I think the imprint that I left in the beginnings of Star Magic, of Big Brother, because I was the one pa may kontrobersya, di ba? Ako yung haharap. Tapos I think Kuya is a good mimic. My intonation, my inflection, because in the beginning, I was really the one in control, creatively in control. So malaki po yung parte ng pagkatao ko na napupunta kay Kuya at napupunta doon sa programa because I was really in control. And at that time, it was really my baby. It was really what I breathe day in, day out. There were countless Christmases that I would cry, complain to management na bakit po kami, kami na lang po nagtatrabaho ng Pasko.
25, nagsispill, isa magla-live.
At hindi rin ang mga host ko, hindi rin sila makaangal din sa akin. I mean, kasi lahat kami, so ang laki po nung 15 years of Big Brother, 16th na yata this year, 2005, di ba? So we're on our 16th year. Ang laki po talaga nung pinagsamahan namin dahil talagang literally we were living together. We were, days where Toni would stay up late and talagang, and those were times, tough times na controversy was talagang wow. But I think hindi nakatulong sa popularity ng Big Brother because we knew how to handle the controversy.
But before yung success ng Pinoy Big Brother, bago yung success na yun, si Direk Lauren has his own personal successes also. Isa sa mga paborito kong pelikula was All My Life. Actually, he directed so many movies. Calvento Files, Jimmy the Reunion.
Jimmy, magandang hating gabi.
Magandang hating gabi. Tapos pinaka-last nyo, then you became so busy na was And I Love You So.
Of Toni. Of
Bea and Derek. Then right after that,
Bea, Derek, Sam actually.
and Sam.
It's very difficult to make a story, but it's also fulfilling. It was a time, and I love, before And I Love You So, All My Life, was a time when ang sinihan, hindi pa yung naka-block ng time. You just go in and out. So, manunod kami nun. We'll go movie house hopping. Natutuwa ko nun pag yung punong-puno yung sinihan, tapos may mga nakaupo na sa sahig, sa aisle. That was quite a thrill for a filmmaker na appreciated yung trabaho mo. And I think All My Life was different, the Star Cinema mode because namatay yung bida. Pero wala, the story needed that kind of an ending. It was so I think it was unexpected for a Star Cinema to have that kind of a story. So actually I miss movie making. If there's a time and a material that I could do, maybe one of these days I'd like to get back to movie making because it's something, it's really a director's medium. Movie making is direct. Kasi ang TV kasi mas producers medium yan. Pero ang pelikula, there's so much of the director that's imparted in a movie.
But alam niyo po, aside from being a director, si Direk Lauren is also a star hunter. Lahat ng mga big stars na kilala natin ngayon at hinahangaan natin ngayon, galing yan sa kanyang pagkilatis, galing yan sa kanyang desisyon. Dahil sa Pinoy Big Brother.
Oo, pero hindi naman lahat.
Pero halos lahat ngayon sa Star Magic ay produkto na ng Pinoy Big Brother.
Alam mo, yun ang pinakapaborito kong parte ng Big Brother audition. Yun yung na-miss ko ngayon sa pandemic na digital na audition. Dati kasi, di ba lumilibot sa iba-ibang probinsya, iba-ibang parte ng mundo. Paborito ko po yun yung naghahanap, yung finding that needle in a haystack. I would always say that na hindi po akalain na si Kim Chiu, dati hindi naman uso yung chinita at di ba? You'll find somebody like Kim Chiu, Melay.
Ano favorite literary piece mo?
May.
May.
These are the people you don't expect to be the standards of artista. But minahal sila ng tao. I think yun yung importante ngayon. Sino ba yung mamahalin ng tao? But of course, we have the standards din. Sila Geraldine naman, nandyan. Sila Sam, the beautiful faces na sinasabi nila.
Edward.
Na sinasabi nila, artista search ang puro magaganda at lang daw. Kasi hindi nila naalala yung wala itsura. Naalala nila yung may itsura. Pero kung titingnan mo history natin,
Lahat ng big winner natin, normal. Ruben Gonzaga, Nene Tamayo.
Hindi nila naalala yun. Siyempre naalala lang nila, mga magaganda lang daw ang sumisikat sa okay.
Paano nyo nasasabi na may star quality ang isang tao?
Dati, naalala mo in the beginnings of Big Brother auditions, gagalit ang tao kasi ang haba-haba ng pila. Tapos papipilayin ko 50 to 100 people dyan. Tapos tinuturo ko na kung sino. Tapos aalis na sila, galit na galit sa akin. Wala pa social media no, kundi na-bash na ako ng gusto nun dahil ano daw hinahanap ko, hindi ako kinausap, hindi ako ganyan. Tinuro ko lang dyan kung sino ganyan. Yun na yun, pumila sila ng 2-3 oras. Hindi mo ma-explain yung minsan, hindi mo kailangan magsalita o hindi mo kailangan Wala kang kailangan gawin masaspat ka kung stand out ka sa isang crowd.
Paano po nagsa-stand out ang isang tao para sa inyo?
Parang mas madali nga mag-stand out. Yung stand out talaga eh. Kasi kung 100, kung mag-isa siya, minsan mas mahirap pang tingnan na, okay ba ito kumpara? Pero pag nakukumpara mo kasi sa isang crowd, alam mo nakikita mo, yan, ito, tatlo, ganyan, pwedeng yan. Ramdam, may gut feel ka na, parang interesting, gusto ko siyang mas makilala. I think that's the first level. Meron ba dito na gusto mong makausap o gusto mong mas makilala? O parang may iba siyang ginawa na kahit tumingon lang siya sumababa o ginalaw yung buhok niya, may ibang galaw ang somebody na interesting for television. Siyempre, you cannot deny na yung may itsura, yung unang mo napapansin. Kaya lang maraming may itsura na boring kasi. Yung iba naman kasi, pasikat. Iba rin naman yung masyadong pasikat, di ba? Na hindi natural. Sa PBB, kailangan hanapin mo yung natural. Kasi, hindi ka naman makakapagpanggap ng 24/7. Lalabas at lalabas yung totoo mong ugali. Spotting or star hunting was the best experience for me.
May favorite season kayo ng Pinoy Big Brother? Memorable?
Memorable marami. The first one was really memorable because of the problems we went through. Lahat na may kontrobersya, memorable sa akin. Dahil ako humarap sa MTRCB. Yung kay Melay, memorable yung kay Melay.
How does it feel po, Lolo, ngayon na kayo ang head ng Star Magic?
It happened because of necessity. It happened because we were shut down. The company was forced to scale down. We were asked to double task. I seem to be a good candidate in terms of efficiency because I can see what's kailangan sa production. Tapos I have the roster of artists. We would know how to match it and be more efficient. So I think it's logical that I take it on. It's a challenge. It's exciting. I'll be very honest, it has caused me stress and depression.
Depression in what way?
Kasi nanggagaling siya dun sa na-shutdown tayo, nag-pandemic tayo, tapos may bago kang responsibilidad, tapos pati yung mga artista, they're also going through a lot. So yung demand sa time and energy mo. And then I was over-eager and excited to do something different and something new. Patong-patong yun. So dumating sa point na I think I had to take a break. 1 month, I needed to take a break. It was my first sabbatical in my entire career na talagang nag-break ako, hindi ako nagbakasyon, nandun lang ako sa bahay and I tried to detach from work because I was having anxiety attacks. As in, hindi ako nakakatulog na maayos, as in nagsisikip yung
Dibdib niyo?
feeling ko nga, COVID ba ito? COVID ba ito? Kasi hindi ka makahinga, yung muscular pain, tapos meron na akong may shoulder pain was so bad. Talaga patong-patong yung preparation from that Congress hearing to the shutdown to hindi lang naman ako nito, I'm sure a lot of people went through it, but mental health awareness and mental health issues, totoo pala talaga siya. Doon ko talaga na-experience na, wow, totoo pala talaga ito. Hindi siya yung
body niyo, no?
sobrang kaguluhan noon na nung dumating na lang yung araw ng hatol na wala na kayong lisensya, parang ka na nun, manhid at the same time, hindi pa nagsisink in. It came in, the sinking of the feeling came in days after, in weeks after na parang, mangyayari sa
Diba
atin?
dadaan po kayo sa iba-ibang stages? May grieving, may anger, tapos may acceptance.
Nasa anger pa yata.
Sa anger pa po kayo.
Hindi. As acceptance, kasi move on na tayo kasi I think,
It's very...
Hindi, tsaka we're being redirected to where the Lord wants us to go. Because kung hindi rin po dahil sa shutdown, hindi kami makakadiscover na ibang paraan ng paggawa. Hindi natin gagawin to. Diba? Hindi natin gagawin yung digital partnership, hindi natin gagawin yung ibang bagay na pwede na pala natin gawin. Kasi nakakoncentrate kami sa free TV for the longest time. May 32 years, 33 years in ABS-TV lang, free TV lang yung alam namin ngayon. Force ka maghanap ng pera, force kang gumawa ng paraan. So, in a way, challenging and exciting. It's a good time also to be in ABS-CBN and it's a challenging time. Kaya lang, nandun yung pangampalagi. But I think yung kaba at yung is good also for our growth. It's still not a perfect setup and it's still difficult. But alam mo kasi na um, kung sino yung kasama mo sa hirap, syempre, yun yung hopefully maging kasama mo rin
Sa ginawa ko. Yes.
One day.
One day. Oh my.
I suppose when a boat is sinking, you can't expect everybody to stay in the
Stay
boat
with you.
or to stay with you. Diba? So, huwag mo na tatanungin kung sino ha sa bahay.
Hindi ko matatanungin kung sino.
As I said, tawa ko, masakit talaga. Especially doon sa mga taong kinausap ko ng 1, 2, 3 times. Masakit talaga. And sana lang ako kasi, from the onset, sabihin mo na lang, di ba, na hindi ko kaya kasi hindi yung parang, it became also, siguro I suppose, if I'm going to analyze it, siguro kasi dumadaan din siya sa proseso. Iniisip niya rin kung ano yung tama sa kanya at hindi. Hindi ko naman maalis yun. Diba? Pero, masakit talaga. Masakit.
Yes.
Masakit. But, I guess, hindi ko control yun. Hindi ko na-control ang utak at puso ng ibang tao. May priorities sila. May priorities din naman kami. Hindi siguro nagtugma yung aming priorities at this point. I will wish them well. I will wish them the best. It's not the first time that it happened to ABS na may mga umalis din. Nangyari na rin naman yan. I remember before na, di ba, malaman mo na yung nagkaroon. It's always at very difficult times, crisis and challenging times na lumalabas yung tunay mong pagkatao. So, okay na rin. Kakaalaman tayo kung ano yung pinaninindigan mo, ano yung okay na rin, di ba? Wala namang bilog naman ang mundo, liit-liit ng industriya ng ano.
Ang tanong ngayon, di ba, where do we go from here? How do we rebuild? How do we move on?
May mga bagay na ayaw mo na talaga pag-isipan o hindi mo na dapat pag-isipan. When it's there, when it's presented to you, just do it, move on, and leave the rest to God. Because these things will not happen if it's not directed by a bigger and a master director up there. So, everything that's happening, hindi talaga eksakto. Who would ever expect that during the pandemic, although kung titiisipin mo, it's a perfect show during a
Perfect
pandemic.
scenario.
Diba? In fairness to the team, in fairness to our host, we did one of the most challenging seasons and we're embarking on a new challenging one. We don't know how we're going to do it, but we're just going to do it. As always, because we're all troopers, we're experts in this already. I don't think there's another team who could do it as good as my team and as better than the host that I have in because maasahan nyo na sila. Toni will do it at home, will do it anywhere, wala. Basta you'll make sure that the show will go on. No matter, whatever happens, it will just be on
Parang
here.
yun ang mantra ng industriya natin, no? No matter what happens, the show will
Will
go
go
on.
on.
Sa lahat ng pinagdaanan natin bilang kapamilya, iba laging may lessons. Yung mga pagsubok, laging may tinuturo siyang lesson sa atin. Everything is a learning experience. Ano yun for you?
Madami. First thing that came to my head is humility. It's really a very humbling experience that you were the number one network and everything gone. Kailangan mo lunukin lahat ng pintas, lahat ng harsh words, lahat ng you just have to believe in kaya mong bumangon. That's one. I think what keeps ABS going is also the relationships that we build with each other. Yung totoo pala talaga yung kapamilya. Nasa hirap at ginhawa, magkakasama kami. We experienced pay cut, we requested, if you only knew how much pay cut Toni got for doing, and thank you very much Toni, for doing last season. We, the executives, have pay cut. Pero, ganun naman ang pamilya, di ba? Pag nasa hirap, pag tighten ng sinturon, sama-sama kayo dahil mahal nyo yung katrabaho nyo, mahal nyo yung kumpanya nyo, mahal nyo yung pamilya nyo. Importante yun. Marami pala na mas importante kaysa sa trabaho. Siyempre, yung pagkakaibigan, yung pamilya mo, yung pagmamahal nyo sa isa't isa. And also, we learned that it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. You will have an opportunity to rise up and to do better and to improve. We're still at that stage we're transforming into a better organization. And I'm also very grateful na Dinaanan ko to in my professional life na hindi lang yung pag-angat hanggang dun sa bumagsak at pagbangon muli. Pinagkalooban ako ng pagkakataong ma-experience ko yun. And always, through my history, the failures will only appear like failures if you will all consider it a failure, but have faith and trust that you are being directed to a better path and a better place for yourself and for the people you care for.